can lean into your own personal discomfort, say what needs to be said in a non-offensive way, the more you make the world a better place.
Well, hey, everyone. I hope you're having a peaceful Friday after Thanksgiving here if you're in the United States. And if you're abroad, I hope things are peaceful for you. Since 2010, I have been directly involved in very intense behavioral crisis intervention ideology, whether that be the actual performing of the work under higher risk conditions with consumers of behavioral health services, or in the education of workforce members in that work. In 2013, the Psychiatric Emergency Response Team program in the state of Washington was born, and we conceptualized a training method for bringing people who were willing to respond to emergencies into a training method that took, generally speaking, ideas about active listening, a review of how behavioral health diagnoses can show up in behavior, incident management principles. We brought these and consolidated these ideas into a training academy for responders that has brought me on a journey over the last 15 years to many, many places throughout the United States and virtually abroad in, let's say, developing very concrete competencies and skills in verbal crisis de-escalation. The journey has taken me to many places where there are ongoing, I'll just say it, human rights violations that occur. Now, I'm not suggesting that these are being done with malevolence, but there are absolutely institutions, systems that engage in coercion, episodes of seclusion, restraint, containment, and the application of those procedures at times when they are not indicated. Our news feeds are filled, even to this day, with ongoing challenges that systems have in serving people that can present extraordinary stress and discontrol to workforce members, and workforce members have to do it and deal with it in real time. Along that journey, we have brought an extraordinary number of people into new levels of competence, and we get validation about this all the time. Where our work reduces these containment procedures, episodes of seclusion and restraint, coercive practice, and replaces those practices with principles that are oriented toward resilience and recovery and reducing the likelihood of future emergency. Thank you, Dr. Kevin Huckshorn, for those goals, those noble goals that you expressed in SAMHSA's crisis response guidelines many, many years ago. What we've also found in this journey is that when we are hired to deliver training, we're very often hired following attempts that the institution or system has initiated to address the human rights violations on their own. Sometimes this meant purchasing a training package from a legacy provider. There are a number of legacy providers in our space where the general theme is a review of the mental health disorders, a review of the presentation of stress or challenging behavior, a review of some active listening skills, a series of complex psychomotor drills, bite release, hair grab, escort position, and the training has been implemented, not inexpensively either. It's been delivered across the workforce and nothing happens in the metrics. This can leave leaders particularly frustrated when they've invested, in some cases, millions of dollars on some of these legacy programs. And when we're called, we demonstrate really best-in-class, next-level training on addressing the challenges. And then we'll leave. We'll deliver the training. Everybody will be super stoked. And then we'll leave. And then there's a meaningful benefit over the short term. And then there's workforce churn, or there are a new category of people being served within the system, or new challenges, and old outcomes start to come back. And we've seen this time and again. This occurs. The common theme that we've identified by our direct experience in observing this is the phenomena where leadership of a system will secure a training. They may even put out an RFP for it. The training is delivered, and the training is the only thing that is really the thrust of the culture change on these packages. These change packages that leadership secures. Maybe you'll see a greater commitment to data collection. You'll certainly hear a lot of talking points about the use of data to inform practice. But when you dig into what they're really doing with the data and how the data is being used, what we find very often is that the data is dirty and nothing is really happening with the data. So what's left? We have schools today. Schools today are initiating isolation procedures on kids with disabilities, putting them in quiet rooms. Teachers are understandably frustrated with disruptive behavior in students. They will call a designee within the workforce to respond to the classroom, to de-escalate a youth. Kid will go back into the class, and then this pattern will continue of people resorting to their local crisis response plans within the institution to manage disruptive behavior, and the pressures to continue controlling or coercive practice is extraordinary on the workforce. Leaders don't know what to do. The common theme in all of these ongoing crises is what we would describe as a need for greater competency in leadership. There have been systems that have successfully dealt with these problems. And in those cases where leadership proudly boasts the success of the reduction or elimination of certain practices, invariably what you find is that leadership was directly involved in the change. They didn't just purchase a training. They didn't just delegate to some people about data collection or the use of tools and instruments. They were actively involved in embodying and personifying the expression of what workforce members would ideally present during the presentation of stress or discontrol in another human being. Greg Smith of the state of Pennsylvania did this. The state of Pennsylvania in its psychiatric care and services system has not used any seclusion and restraint in a very long time. And I mean well over a decade, probably closer to 13 or 14 years, maybe longer. The beginning of that change started with Greg responding to every incident that the psychiatric emergency response team would respond to and directly witness what was happening. And when he witnessed behavior of an employee that was inconsistent with the direction he wanted to lead the hospital, that employee was a beneficiary of feedback right there. And if one of the people that needed to be talked to was a licensed medical professional, Greg had the medical director with him to do this. This is an extremely unusual, sadly, it shouldn't be unusual. This is an unusual approach to leadership. There are mid-level leaders, supervisors, managers, who feel very passionate about reducing human rights violations, who work in systems where their passion is subdued, where their goals are not shared. This can result in a lot of frustration by workforce members, very often causing them to look someplace else to work, and they're needed where they are. Jumpstart Mastery has maintained a guidance group that has met every week for nearly 5 years. This guidance group is made up of leaders in behavioral health, workplace violence prevention, psychiatric nursing, our sheltering and houseless domains, where we address the larger problem sets associated to a number of sectors. We've released white papers, opinion papers, really, on the Housing First program. White papers are now coming out on opinion papers on juvenile justice. And in 2026, the guidance group is going to be launching a 12-week virtual leadership academy for anyone in behavioral health who's a mid-level manager who needs the support to manage the conditions around them in an environment where senior and executive leadership may not share the same commitment level that you do in trying to make a difference in the life of a person served who's in a system that might feel to them like it's unmerciful. Remember, one of the leading causes of aggression that's been identified in research in corrections is feeling at the mercy of an uncaring system. A fundamental cause of aggression, feeling at the mercy of an uncaring system. This can drive people to extraordinary lengths to be heard and to get their needs met. When leadership vacuums exist on what the best practices are to deal with that, that leaves people who do know what to do with an extraordinary set of circumstances to deal with. They may not have the ear of leadership, but they want to make change where they are. We have found that mid-level leadership is fundamental to change initiatives in our care systems across the country. The people who are recognized by the workforce as the thought leaders, the champions, the reliable sources of guidance and direction. We want to empower those people with leadership training that will result in heightened capacity to navigate the political challenges of today's behavioral health landscape. I've seen it way too often. I've seen senior leaders almost normalize these kinds of problems as if they're not horrific. Believe that securing a training for an extraordinary amount of money is going to adequately resolve the problem. And the problem doesn't go resolved. In fact, it grows. And then that leader is generally on the hot seat. But the leader can defer an awful lot to the senior leader, to the other areas of their system that need to be supplemented. As a mid-level manager or a supervisor, you don't have the opportunity to make change at that level. You're on a unit, you're in a community, you're in a section or sector of operations, and you care about these things. How do you manage not only the challenges of that, but the challenges of working in a system that doesn't share the same values? Gary Nesner used to refer to it all the time in the FBI. Doing the hostage negotiation was easy compared to working with the bosses that were on scene that were unsupportive of the negotiation approach. That was 10 times harder. Jack Cambria said it also similarly. And that was a guy who worked on both sides of the incident response. He was either in the tactical element, and then eventually he became the commander of the hostage negotiation team. So with that, I'm very excited to announce, and you'll see more information coming out about Jumpstart's Guidance Group Leadership Academy. If you are a supervisor or a manager working in behavioral health and you want formalized training that is going to directly address the specific challenges of the space you work in, particularly the political and ideological possession problems that can pervade a system and not necessarily support you in trying to lead better practice within your workforce, more humane practice. I'm not even a big fan of that word, but it's getting tossed around a little bit because non-humane practice is getting normalized. Overuse of seclusion and restraint is normalized. Use of physical intervention is normalized. The worst place that this could possibly be going on is in public schools. It's astonishing to me that in public schools, we have people, workforce members, placing their hands on youth and moving them to places of isolation and closing the door. It is astonishing to me that that's going on, as if that's occurring as a function of meaningful leadership, meaningful training, meaningful awareness on what works and what doesn't. It's not happening on that basis. It's happening on the basis of people feeling like they have no other option, impulsive, personally frustrated, relying on school system employees who are tasked with responding to crisis to making the problem go away for them. And this is just not working. So I hope that you'll consider, when we release more information in our Leadership Academy, I think you're going to find it incredibly refreshing to be in a room with people where you know you're not alone and that there are actually things you can do about this at the mid-level. I once was a mid-level manager who had this problem, and the people on the guidance group also all have this experience. And to move vertically in an organization like that comes with a very unique set of challenges associated with it. How do you do that without abandoning your sense of what's right? And where is your commitment to moral imperative as you reach heights in a system where at the very top, it seems to not care about the things that you cared about when you were in middle management? We can help with that. So I hope that you'll consider our guidance group, and we'll be releasing more information about that very shortly. All the very best to you. Take good care.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
More that you can lean into your own personal discomfort, say what needs to be said in a non-offensive way, the more you make the world a better place.